The clanging of steel echoed through cell block D, a symphony of despair that usually lulled hardened inmates to a restless sleep. But tonight, the rhythm was off-key, a discordant hum of fear vibrating in the cold, damp air. Marcus Razor Ramirez, notorious for carving his victims more than his steak, lay on his bunk, eyes wide open, staring into the darkness. He could hear it, the whispers. They say. He saw it. Saw what? You crazy, the warden. With Vargas. In the chapel, the whispers thickened, a miasma of rumor and speculation, focusing on a single, terrifying possibility. Someone in this prison, a snitch, a rat, a solitary witness, had seen something they shouldn't have. Something that could unravel the delicate tapestry of corruption woven within the walls of Blackwood Penitentiary. Razor shivered. He knew Vargas, the ruthless head of the prison's biggest gang. And he knew Warden Thorne, a man with a smile as sharp as the razor that gave Marcus his nickname. A confrontation between them? In the chapel, no less. That was a storm brewing. He pulled the thin blanket tighter around himself. Discovery meant death. He just hoped, for his own sake, he wasn't the unlucky son of a bitch who knew too much. Outside the grim walls of Blackwood, Detective Inspector Alistair Ali Finch was a man drowning in beige. Beige apartment, beige car, beige expectations from his superiors. He thrived on order, on logic, on the comforting predictability of spreadsheets and evidence logs. Chaos, on the other hand, gave him hives, which was precisely why he was standing outside Blackwood Penitentiary, his tailored gray suit feeling conspicuously out of place amongst the razor wire and armed guards. He'd been assigned to investigate the death of an inmate, supposedly a drug overdose. Routine stuff, usually, except, this time, the victim was Tony Fingers Falcone, a mid-level player in the Vargas organization, and whispers, similar to those within cell block D, had reached his desk. Whispers of something more. Detective Finch, a voice boomed, cutting through Ali's thoughts. Warden Thorne emerged from the imposing gates, a figure of imposing height and carefully cultivated charm. His handshake was firm. His smile impeccably practiced. Welcome to Blackwood. So sorry for the inconvenience. Just a tragic accident, I assure you. Ali plastered on his most diplomatic expression. Of course, Warden. Just following procedure. I'll need to see the crime scene. Interview staff. And, he paused, letting the words hang in the air. Any inmates who might have witnessed anything. Thorne's smile didn't falter, but Ali could see a flicker of something cold. Something dangerous. In his eyes. Certainly, detective. Anything you need. We pride ourselves on our cooperation. As Thorne led him through the labyrinthine corridors of the prison, the air grew thicker, heavier. Ali felt the weight of unseen eyes, the palpable tension that clung to the walls like damp. He sensed that he was walking into something much bigger, much darker, than a simple drug overdose. He just needed to find the one voice willing to break the silence, the solitary witness amidst the condemned. The crime scene was a cell barely bigger than a closet, reeking of disinfectant and desperation. The dead man, Fingers Falcone, lay on the bunk, his face a ghastly blue. Ali meticulously examined the scene, noting the forced nature of the overdose, the lack of any forced entry, the unsettling tidiness for a man reportedly in the throes of addiction. His interview with the attending physician, Dr. Emily Carter, was less than illuminating. She was young, idealistic, and clearly intimidated by the warden. Her answers were rehearsed. Her gaze averted. He was a known addict. Detective, she said nervously, fiddling with her stethoscope. It's not uncommon for inmates to succumb to their demons. Ali pressed her gently, asking about the possibility of foul play, but she remained steadfast in her official account. He could tell she knew more, but fear had clamped her mouth shut. His next interview was with Vargas himself. Vargas was a mountain of a man, his face a roadmap of scars, his eyes devoid of any remorse. He exuded an aura of raw power, the kind that held sway even behind bars. Falcone was a good soldier, Vargas growled, his voice like gravel grinding against stone. He ODD. End of story. Ali knew he was lying. He could smell it, the stench of deception wafting off the man like cheaper cologne. But he couldn't prove it. Not yet. As he left Vargas's cell, a crumpled piece of paper was slipped into his hand. He glanced around, but the corridor was empty. Back in his beige car, under the dim glow of the dashboard light, he unfolded the paper. Scrawled in shaky handwriting was a single word, chapel. The seed of mistrust had been planted. The prison chapel was a surprisingly tranquil space, a stark contrast to the brutality that permeated the rest of Blackwood. Stained glass windows depicted scenes of redemption, a hollow irony given the inhabitants of the penitentiary. Ali examined the chapel meticulously, searching for anything that might corroborate the whispered allegations. He found nothing. No signs of a struggle, no discarded weapons, no incriminating evidence. Then he found it, hidden behind a loose brick in the confessional booth. A single, tarnished button. It wasn't a prison issue button. It looked expensive, the kind you'd find on a tailored suit. A gray suit, perhaps. Ali knew he was getting closer, but he was also stepping on dangerous ground. He could feel the pressure mounting, the subtle threats disguised as polite warnings. He was being watched, his every move scrutinized. Ali needed a witness, someone inside who was willing to risk everything to tell the truth. But trust was a rare commodity in Blackwood. Everyone had their own agenda, their own loyalties, their own fears. He decided to try Reza Ramirez. Despite his violent reputation, Ali sensed a flicker of humanity beneath the hardened exterior. He offered Reza a deal, information in exchange for a reduced sentence and witness protection. Reza was hesitant. He knew the risks. He'd seen what happened to snitches in Blackwood, but the offer was tempting. He was tired of the violence, the constant fear. He wanted out. I saw something, Reza admitted, his voice barely a whisper. A few weeks ago, late at night, I was on cleaning duty. I saw the warden and Vargas in the chapel. They were arguing, loudly. Vargas looked angry. He was shouting about money, about deals gone wrong. Did you hear anything else? Ali pressed. Reza hesitated. I saw Vargas shove something into the warden's hand. Something small, silver. I couldn't see what it was. A single, tarnished button. Silver. It could be a coincidence. But Ali didn't believe in coincidences. News of Ali's investigation had reached Warden Thorne. The warden's facade of geniality had crumbled, revealing the ruthless man beneath. He knew Ali was getting close, and he wasn't about to let some beige-clad detective expose his carefully crafted empire. Thorne orchestrated a series of events designed to discredit Ali and derail the investigation. He planted false evidence, spread rumors about Ali's personal life, and even threatened his family. Ali found himself increasingly isolated, his superiors questioning his judgment, his colleagues distancing themselves from him. He was a lone wolf, howling in the face of a powerful storm. But Ali Finch was not a man to be deterred. He had come too far, seen too much. He knew the truth was within reach, and he was determined to expose it, no matter the cost. Ali knew he needed concrete evidence, something that would stand up in court. He needed to know what Vargas had given Thorne in the chapel. Remembering Reza's description, small, silver, he focused his investigation on the warden. He managed to obtain a warrant to search Thorne's office and residence. The search turned up nothing. Thorne was too careful, too meticulous. Then, Ali remembered the tarnished button. He requested a forensic analysis. The results came back. The button was made of silver, but it also contained traces of lead and antimony. It was an alloy commonly used in antique bullets. Ali returned to the chapel, focusing his search on the altar. He found a small, almost invisible scratch on the marble surface. He scraped the scratch and sent it to the lab. The lab report confirmed his suspicions. The scratch contained traces of lead, antimony, and, most importantly, human blood. The blood belonged to Tony Fingers Falcone. Ali confronted Warden Thorne with the evidence. Thorne denied everything, but his composure was cracking. Ali could see the fear in his eyes. It was self-defense. Thorne finally confessed, his voice hoarse with desperation. Falcone found out about the deals I was making with Vargas. He threatened to expose me. We argued in the chapel. He attacked me. I had no choice. The truth was more complicated, more insidious. Thorne wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting a vast network of corruption that extended far beyond the walls of Blackwood. He was protecting powerful men who wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatened their interests. With Thorne's confession, the house of cards began to crumble. Vargas was brought to justice. The corrupt officials were exposed, and Blackwood Penitentiary was finally cleaned up. Ali Finch was hailed as a hero. He received commendations, promotions, and the respect of his colleagues. But the victory came at a price. He had made powerful enemies. Enemies who would never forget what he had done. Razor Ramirez was placed in witness protection, but he knew he would always be looking over his shoulder. The whispers of Cell Block D would haunt him for the rest of his life. Years later, Ali Finch found himself staring out the window of his new office. A much larger, more prestigious office than the one he'd had before. The view was impressive, but the grey skies still lingered. He had brought justice to Blackwood, but he knew that corruption was a hydra, always regenerating, always finding new ways to thrive. He had won the battle, but the war was far from over, and as he looked out at the endless expanse of grey, he wondered if the solitary witness, the silent voice within himself, would ever truly be at peace. The price of truth, he knew, was eternal vigilance, and in a world shrouded in grey, vigilance was the only weapon he had left.